and that's cultural. You go down to the Pearl District and there's a large amount of Chinese restaurants, and there's a Chinese family that probably came from Fujian or Canton or Guangzhou, and they have relatives who would come over and help work in that restaurant. If someone leaves and opens up another restaurant, or the person ends up going to college and graduating, there's 1.5 billion people in China who could come over, and some of them are going to know how to cook and staff that restaurant. And the same is true with a Thai restaurant like Pak Pak, or even a French restaurant. There's a base of a culture there, and you can always call over to Alsace and Lorraine or to Paris and bring a chef over who knows how to cook that food. The Jewish delicatessen started out as the immigrant food of the Eastern European Jews, and it was there to feed a large population of immigrant Eastern European Jews, and it was opened and run by Eastern European Jewish families. And that population no longer exists. There are no more Jews in Eastern Europe. There were once 3 million or something along those lines Jews in Poland. Now there are just a couple of thousand. The Nazis wiped out that population, and everybody who was left fled to the United States or Israel or all these other countries. So it's a food based in an immigrant ideal. It's a food based in an immigrant tradition that comes from a place which no longer exists. There are no more shtetls. There is no one in Warsaw or Vilna pickling corned beef and making pastrami. And so with each generation that gets removed from those who came from Eastern Europe, the detachment from the food makes the business a little more difficult. So, the generation of my grandparents came from Eastern Europe, and they arrived in this country, and they ate this food, Eastern European Jewish food, every day. It was what they ate. At 3 meals a day, that's what they ate. Maybe once in a while they would try something else. And their kids would have it, a couple nights a week, and definitely on weekends with their parents. But they would branch out and they would try, Chinese food and spaghetti and hamburgers, because they were American. And, they were still very much influenced by their parents. And the third generation, my generation, the generation of many others, like Ken, is, this was the food that you have on the holidays, 3 times a year, or once a month, as a treat to have with your grandparents. And that detachment from the food robbed a lot of the Jewish delicatessens of their clientele and made it increasingly difficult for them to survive in their communities. And they tried to branch out to beyond the Jewish community, but without that bedrock, without that base, it was very difficult for them. So that cultural reason, I think, is even more significant than the economic reason. The two play into each other. So that's why the deli has had so much trouble. Taking a water break here.